This free video is brought to you by the Team Topologies Academy. Our goal is to help organizations become more effective and more humane. If you find this video helpful, we would love for you to check out and recommend our Academy content. To thrive in a remote-first world, organizations must leave behind ideas inherited from Taylorism, mechanistic, output-centric measures of productivity. Modern knowledge work is not like an assembly line for matchsticks or clothes pegs, but instead needs conditions where people feel engaged and motivated.
For effective remote-first working, organizations need a combination of structural and responsibility changes, common language and shared mental models, tools with effective configuration and usage, team working agreements, and more. The Team Topologies book and the companion Remote Team Interactions workbook together provide many clues and suggestions for making remote work effective.
Let's explore these aspects briefly now. First, functional silos, meaning groups with similar skills that are managed together, are still common in many organizations. The problem is that functional silos do not work well in the context of fast flow. And that's because of the multiple handoffs that are needed to complete a workflow end-to-end. Multiple handoffs are not only a major source of slowdown, but also lead to confusion, disengagement, and rework.
Before the COVID pandemic, many organizations were masking or hiding these problems by having people all work in the same office, enabling people to work around the problems face-to-face. When the pandemic hit and people had to work remotely, the problems with handoffs between functional silos became very apparent.
By contrast, organizations that empower teams to own services or workflows end-to-end do not suffer these handoff problems, even in a remote work context. That's because the flow of work is retained within the team. So by definition, there are no handoffs. Arranging work in teams and arranging those teams to align to the natural flows of change within the organization is not a new approach, but is still unfamiliar to many organizations. Actually, those organizations that had already adopted a team-first, flow-centric approach before the pandemic found it much easier to adapt to remote working.
However, simply restructuring around flows of work is not enough. If team responsibilities are too broad, even if they are aligned to the flows of work, then the team cognitive load may rapidly be exceeded, leading to reduced flow, reduced engagement, errors, and burnout. Team boundaries must take into account the team cognitive load that is active for each team. In a remote work environment, cognitive load can easily increase significantly due to a lack of clarity around ways of working, conventions for use of tools, communication norms, and more. It's therefore very important to design explicitly the remote work environment to minimize the extraneous cognitive load on team members.
Simply adopting a new video chat tool is not a remote-first approach. We need to ask, how should the tool be used? What are the conventions? When is video a good thing? When could audio-only sessions be a better communication approach? When can we rely on explanatory video snippets? And when do we need live video engagement? Again, organizations that have clear patterns for healthy use of tools find that their people are more engaged and experience less cognitive load when compared to organizations that simply roll out another tool to fix all the communication problems.
It's vital to develop a sense of when synchronous meetings are valuable and needed. Synchronous meaning where everyone is in the same video call or physical room at the same time, and when asynchronous, separate work can happen. I recently realized that my instincts in this space actually come from proven patterns with software version control, and particularly the practice of continuous integration, or CI. With effective CI, software developers make small, regular synchronizations with the main codebase, at least once per day, by checking in their code and ensuring it's still compatible and coherent with the rest of the work from other developers. This regular synchronization helps to avoid large, incompatible drifts in approaches between different people or teams working on related areas. Fundamentally, this regular synchronization and immediate correction or tweaking is an effective approach for all kinds of knowledge work, not just software. In fact, this model works well for both in-person work in the same office and remote work. Synchronize ideas regularly, then agree what can be worked on separately for a while.
Team working agreements can also help with remote work. In the Agile software community, we've had team internal agreements for many years, often known as team charters. These were popularized by people like Diana Larsen and James Shore. But importantly, there is also a need to define and agree how multiple teams interact with each other. In the Team Topologies book, we introduced the idea of a team API, mirroring the software application programming interface, in order to specify how other teams can interact with the team defining their API. We will look in more detail at the Team API later in this course.
Finally, for any coordinated change to a new way of operating, it's important to have a common language and shared mental model to guide decisions and actions. For remote working, a common language and mental model help to guide when and how teams can and should work together. This common language is partly what Team Topologies provides with the 4 team types and 3 team interaction modes, together with ideas like fracture planes, team cognitive load, and treating awkward interactions as signals for evolution of the organization.
Let's now look at some specific approaches for remote-first team interactions.